Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Eva, helping you create the sustainable wardrobe you have always wanted. Today we are creating another piece. We are upcycling an oversized men's shirt into a women's blouse with some interesting bits to it. This design went through quite a lot of experimentation, and I tried a few different things. I hope you find it interesting, and I hope it inspires you to start upcycling with clothes that you already have. Okay, we've got a few issues with this. First of all, it used to be a men's shirt with sleeves, and because of this, it's actually on the large side. It was a quite large shirt. So let's say I use this mannequin as an example of a size 10, for example. I've got quite a lot to work with on both sides. The other thing is that here I had a little play with the collar and it was not successful, so I'm gonna cut the collar off. I'm thinking of creating an interesting sample with collars only because I've got a few. Let me know whether you'd like me to show you what happens with that. Right, anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the two sides, and I'm going to also stitch them together to create a piece of cloth I can use. Okay, so I've cut the sides, and that's open, but I'm going to stitch it together, leaving opening here. I also cut off the sides, and we've got this much fabric, so twice of that. So I'm gonna stitch these two together. I might need some extra material added to this because this will become a collar, and I'm going to next show you how I scaled the pattern for the collar, because we've previously created a little pattern. Well, this is our pattern that I created earlier when I was playing with ideas from the sketchbook, which you could watch with the rest of the series. Now I need to scale this pattern to make it bigger by twice, and it's going to be challenging because it's a very organic shape. It doesn't have edges except for this little angle here and this one, it won't be very easy. So what I think I'm going to do is measure how big this is and then add the same amount on either side here and here, half of. So for example, this much on here, this much on here, and then do the same here and here, and from there have pinpoints where I could just connect them, a bit like dot to dot connecting. It's a little bit out of the box thinking this, but I can't think of another way to do this, so wish me luck. Right, so this is what happened. It looks a little bonkers, but all I did is added half of each distance on each side, and I'm going to connect all the dots and see how it's looking. It's a bit experimentative, but that's what we're here to do, so let's do it. I cut out the sides of the shirt because it was very oversized, and I've got two sides that I then stitched together, and with this I was hoping that I'd have enough material for the scaled pattern. However, I don't quite. I've tried and it didn't quite work. So what I did is I'm going to use this for perhaps another part of this garment or another garment. And what I'm going to use is these pieces, which is what I had left over from my previous design that I made a couple of weeks ago, which you could watch. I'll put in the description below. And so I had these offcuts and I just put them together so they can be used as cloth. And I'm going to do my best and cut out two of these from each material. I managed to cut 4 pieces for the collar, and I'm going to sew them all the way around except for this side on both. That will give us the bit where our neck will be, and also I'm going to stitch them together along here. Okay, so we've got two parts of what will be the collar. Now what I need to do is, this is too flimsy, so I'm just going to grab some interfacing to make sure it's nice and crisp, and I'm also going to stitch these two together up to here but leave this bit open. So I placed the collar, placed it in different positions just to see what it will look like. For example, I could have it like this. I think we had it like that when we were initially playing around with ideas in the sketchbook. I could also have it maybe like that. But then I realized that however I'd have it, I would have a gap here. So what I'm thinking, I think this way will probably look quite good. If I just do it quickly, I'm going to pin it just to show you. I think what we can do is, instead of having a gap, there are two possibilities. If I want to have a gap, I could work with it separately, finish this collar and make it its own thing. I could also add a little stand, but what I thought I could actually do, and that will change the design quite a bit, but I think it'll be interesting, is if instead I added this bit of the shirt to the collar itself. So this way I would have pulled it up, and then what I'm gonna do is I could then have this pleated like that on either side and create different armholes. I'd have an interesting pleat going on here, and once I reshape the sides where the armholes are, I could then perhaps see how I could go about having an interesting, quite feminine shape here. So I think that could work quite nicely, but I need to unpick the sides first. I think this would be interesting if I literally just have this stitch all the way around and hat pleat that actually mimics the collar. This would make it a lot more avant-garde, but also a lot more chic, I think, than if you had a bit here missing or patched up. At this point, I started pinning things, and I decided to let it sit for a little longer. I know I've let this sit quite a lot, but I'm just now wondering whether pleats going down would be better than pleats going up, because you get different looks this way. If pleats on both sides go down, I need to think about how to tidy this. I might need to cut some of this off when I'm adding extra fabric on the side. If the pleats are going up, I may not need to do this because it just naturally folds here. This may just stay on the inside. I think they both would look good in their own right, so I'm not sure. I've put the question up on social media or on Instagram, so we'll see what the majority of people say. Okay, it's a new day and the public has spoken. I've got pretty much everyone except for one person voted for pleats up, so that's what I decided to do, and I think it does actually look better after all. I think I preferred the folds downwards before, but when you've got the dabbles, I think it works really nicely. So what I need to do next is to finish these row edges, add some fabric here on the side, because I will probably put belt there like in the original design. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this as is, meaning I'll finish it, but I'm not going to actually add this. Now I know we faffed quite a bit with this, but it wasn't shape that I ended up having, it wasn't what I initially wanted anyway, so I'm going to either leave it for another design or keep in the sketchbook as a sample. Okay, so I have finished the neckline. I could have done this differently, but this is the way that was best to create less bulk. I've also finished the sides, which is now, you know, they're all really tidy. I'm thinking on here, what I could do, and on the sides, is insert some kind of pleats. And I've got this material, which I think would work well. I've got a few offcuts of this, and I think I'll have enough to create pleats. Just so the design opens up towards the bottom, but stays the same at the top. Once it's closed, it will be more fitted than it was when we started with this. And then I'm going to press it, and I might put something here, I might not. I'll see how it goes. Let's finish this. It's been ages. You will notice that I have done this over the course of a few different days, and the reason being is because with this design I kind of had to leave it to sit and breathe for a bit. And what I mean by this is that I had an initial idea that came from research when I was doing the sketchbook. By the way, if you haven't seen the episodes with this kind of stuff, I'll put them in the description below. And what happened was that one thing basically led to another. So whilst I was following the vision to start with, I kind of felt that what came out of it progressed in a better way. But yes, so even though it was over the course of a few different days, those days were actually spread out even further. So actually I've been creating this design for a few weeks now, and so you might not be able to see that from the video, but it has challenged me, this one. I think it's a combination of me wanting to show you the best stuff I can show you, but also being mindful that you know, I'm trying to do this in a fairly tight time frame rather. So perhaps I rushed some of it, even though it's taken a while to do it. I'm not sure. Okay, I added a pleat at the front, which I think is quite nice, and it opens up well. And I also made a couple of belt bits that can be attached on either side, so we could tie this. And I did that from the bit that I earlier cut out from this original shirt. Now I've pinned things together to potentially have more pleats, which I was convinced was going to be a good idea, but I'm thinking it's probably pulling things too much. So what I'm going to do is I think, because obviously I've changed this quite a lot of times now, is I'm going to stitch the top part of the side seam, leave the rest open because it's already tied. I tidied it earlier, and I'm going to move these a bit higher and trap them in the seam, so this bit will be I think completely open, and the same on the other side, but I'll keep the pleat at the front because I quite like that, and from there we could finish the top. We could finish the top because it just needs a little bit of tidying, and hopefully that will do it. Let's see what happens though. The result is quite different to what I originally planned, or somehow different, shall we say. I don't have the collar anymore, but if I didn't create the collar, I wouldn't have thought of the idea of having the pleats on and just having the garment move a bit higher up. So it was necessary for me to do this. on reflection, I might have done the stuff to the sides because I feel that maybe I cut out too much because I thought the shirt is quite big, so I could do that, but it didn't work as well as I was hoping. And it just shows that sometimes, even when you have quite a bit of experience with this, sometimes it doesn't always work exactly in the way that you wanted it to. At the end, I quite like how I finished the top with like stitching the button on the collar. It looks quite cool. I quite like that I've kept the silhouette that I initially wanted. That's quite feminine, but I think it could have been even more opened up at the bottom. And it may be that I revisit this particular design in future, but I do need for now to let it breathe. I wonder what you think. Do you think this is a successful transformation, or would you have done something else? Do you think I should have kept the initial idea of having the collar, or did I make the right decision, do you think? I'd love to know what you think, because the thing is, with design and with prototyping and with creating new looks, it's always good to have the feedback, and it's sometimes something that can progress later. So I have left it at this point. I don't want to overwork it, but it's not a design that is my favorite out of the bunch, and I think I will simplify and next time show you something a little simpler. Thank you for watching. I hope you have learned from this. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again. If you have enjoyed this episode, hit the like button, share with your friends, support the channel by subscribing. That will be super helpful. And until next time, stay creative and see you soon.